Welcome back to the channel, and with MLB The Show 25 right around the corner and with the host of new upcoming features for the franchise mode, I wanted to give the 7 best expansion teams to add in your franchise for this year's game. These will all be pseudo-realistic organizations that could possibly be the next expansion teams in the major leagues, or at least ones that have gotten a lot of fanfare in the last few years. While I do give recommendations for nicknames, none of these are set in stone, so feel free to change them to your liking. Along with this, I will be basing most of the franchise mode's knowledge off of last year's version, where you need to replace a current organization to add in another team. Things may change going forward, but for now, we are not so sure. With that being said, if I do not mention what team I specifically will replace with the team I'm adding, go ahead and assume it's going to be the Oakland Athletics. Since they are barely managing to have a baseball park these next few years, I feel like it's only right that they should get the boot. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into it. Before we get into the main list, I did come up with 10 teams in total, but I left 3 out since they didn't really feel realistic to me. So the 3 honorable mention teams would be the Tokyo Samurais, New Orleans Cajuns, and a team from Havana, Cuba. I didn't really come up with a nickname for them, so choose yours if you want to add this team. While each of these teams would be awesome, there are a ton of issues with the logistics for most of these, and it just doesn't really make sense that they would come into the MLB at this point. And the very first team is actually a team that the Athletics may become one day in the next half decade or so. That team would be based out of Las Vegas, and to my best guess would be called the Aces, in a reference to the history of gambling and more specifically blackjack and poker. With the team already moving to Las Vegas in the near future, this replacement makes a ton of sense. Going with an all-black, silver, and white scheme puts it in a similar color scheme to the Raiders, who call Las Vegas home as well, and gives some nice brotherhood between the two teams. I personally would add a little bit of accents of red to the design myself, but you choose whatever is best for you. The next team on the list would be the Montreal Expos. This is obviously a team that has once been the MLB some decades ago, but eventually moved to Washington, D.C. and became the Nationals. With a ton of history already in the city and with some major support from fans alike, it makes a ton of sense to add them back into the game. I would still recommend replacing the Athletics here as well, but another valid option would be replace the Nationals, who they replaced back years ago. This next team would help broaden the footprint in the West and bring a team to a city that has not had one. The Salt Lake City Pioneers would be a great replacement team to run in your next franchise mode. With the city already having the Jazz, it would fit nicely here and also give the Rockies a nice regional rivalry that they are missing out on. While the color scheme is really up in the air, you could settle on something similar to the Jazz or go with more of a Western look with a bunch of dark colors like tan and forest green. As an alternative option, the teams could be named the Cutthroats after the state fish, or you could promote Salt Lake's AAA team, the Bees, to Major League status. At our fourth team, I would slot in the Charlotte Aviators. With the Braves having a monopoly over the entire southwest of the US outside of Florida, it would be great to see a new team in one of the fastest growing cities in the country. While the Aviators nickname is taken by a quad ball team in the area, I think naming a major league team would be just fine. With the color scheme of navy, red, and baby blue, we could see a similar designs to Philly with their alternative jerseys. While it would also still take out the A's out of the league, it could be reasonable to replace the Tampa Bay Rays, as they have been very vocal about moving cities these past few seasons. With yearly games taking place in Mexico City, the MLB front office seems to be gearing up for an expansion down the road. As for the nickname, I would go with the Red Devils, which seems to be a popular choice on the internet by a bunch of fans. While there's already a team in Mexico with a similar name that sports an all-red uniform, I would love to see this mixed with a green to give it a little bit more contrast, or another option would be use the colors of the Mexican flag that the WBC team used for their jerseys. Also, if you do choose to add this team, you would need to create a stadium with the max elevation, and it would still be too little, as Mexico City Ballpark is well over 2,000 feet higher than the Rocky Stadium, which is the current highest MLB stadium. With Portland having an NBA team and with Nike having a ton of pull these days in the MLB, it does seem likely that if there are spots available to open up, the Portland area would get a bid. This would also give a great rivalry to the Pacific Northwest between the Mariners and the Portland baseball team, with no real nickname picked out by any of fans or the expansion coalitions that we see around the country. I would love to offer up either the Beavers or the Webfoots. While neither of these are likely to be used, if they do get a team, the Beavers would be easy to model since the Oregon State University has them as their mascot, but that runs into a whole host of issues there. But on the other hand, the Webfoots would be a great logo as well, giving minor league vibes in the process. Regardless of what you choose, I would pick a color scheme that hasn't been used in the MLB so far, so something like a yellow for the Webfoots would work great in my opinion. And last but not least, I have the Nashville Stars at the final spot. This is probably the most likely city to get an expansion if the league decides to do so, with the history of the Stars coming from the Negro Leagues, as there is a team based in Nashville that played in the league most prominently in the 1940s and 50s. If you want to find out more, there's a bunch of references online on the actual expansion team page and around on Wikipedia and stuff like that. While the team was originally just a white and black color scheme for the jerseys, we could see a refresh in the expansion era. I would go with the combo navy red and black with some white accents for the design. With that being said, if you do want to see this team in action, I will be starting a series on the channel at the launch of the game, rebuilding the stars from the ground up over the next few months, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. And with that, those are my 7 pseudo-realistic teams for you to add into your franchise. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button below so myself and YouTube knows you want more of this content. I appreciate y'all being here, and I'll catch you in the next one. And a huge shout out to Chris, our very first premium channel member. Thanks for all your support, man. It's really appreciated.